The signal that shook the Empire far beyond the bright worlds of the Galactic Empire. There was a quiet sector known as the Outer Rim. It was a peaceful zone, filled with trade stations, mining colonies, and small patrol outposts. Most days passed without trouble, and the stars remained calm. But one ordinary night that peace ended. The Imperial patrol fleet was stationed near a small gas giant, following their usual routine. Captain Lauren stood on the command deck of the flagship Eternal Shield. Watching the calm starfield, he was bored, like everyone else. No pirate raids, no rebel signals, nothing. Until the scanners beeped once, then again louder. The radar operator looked confused, then frightened. "Sir, we have an incoming reading," the young officer said. "It's strange," Captain Lauren frowned. "Strange how?" "It's not matching any known engine signature, not Empire, not alien. Nothing on record." Lauren turned toward the main screen, and what he saw made his heart freeze. In the distance, a massive shape appeared, slowly rising from behind the planet's shadow. It wasn't a comet, and it wasn't a fleet. It was a single ship, black as the void, moving without visible engines. No lights, no signals, no identification codes. "Get me a visual feed," Lauren ordered. The image flickered and cleared. A dark hull covered in unknown markings filled the screen even through the static. The ship looked old, impossibly old. "Is that human design?" one officer whispered. "No, sir, it's not like anything we've ever built," another answered. Lauren felt cold sweat on his neck. Something about the ship felt wrong. "Ancient and alive," he called out. "Send standard hailing signal." The communication officer nodded and transmitted. No reply. They sent another, still no answer. Instead, the scanners began to hum louder. "Warning of rising energy. Power surge detected," shouted the engineer. "What kind of surge?" "Unknown source. It's coming from that ship." The crew watched in silence as a red light spread across the unknown vessel's surface. Then came a voice, not over the radio, but through the ship's speakers. A low mechanical tone, cold and heavy. "Target locked. Evasive maneuvers," Lauren shouted. The fleet's engines roared to life. But it was too late. A beam of pure white light burst from the unknown ship. Cutting through the void, it hit one of the destroyers, Iron Claw, tearing it apart in a single silent flash. No explosion, no debris, just bright light, and then darkness. The bridge of Eternal Shield fell silent. The only sound was the static from broken comms. "Sir, the Iron Claw is gone," whispered a voice. Lauren could barely breathe. One shot and an entire warship had vanished. "Retreat, full retreat," he ordered. But the strange ship didn't follow. It stayed there, motionless, watching. Its hull shimmered with strange blue light. And then it simply turned and vanished. No warp trace, no jump signature, just gone. Hours later, the damaged patrol fleet limped back to the nearest command station. The Empire's high command received the report in disbelief. An unidentified vessel had appeared, destroyed one of their ships, and disappeared without warning. The analysts reviewed the recordings again and again. Each time they found new data that made no sense. The energy readings were beyond anything in known Imperial science. The material scans of the ship's hull were impossible. Unknown alloys that defied scanning. Some whispered that it was alien. Others said it might be a forgotten weapon from the old Empire. A few believed it was something even older, a ghost ship from humanity's first wars among the stars. The Emperor himself demanded answers, but there were none, only silence and fear. Across the fleet networks, soldiers began to whisper about the shadow ship. They said it could appear anywhere, destroy anything and then vanish. They said it was hunting. Captain Lauren sat alone in his quarters, replaying the moment again and again. He could still hear the voice, that single, cold phrase, "Target locked." He didn't know who or what it was, but he knew one thing. The Empire had just met something far beyond its control, and somewhere far away in the endless dark, the same unknown signal pulsed again, slow and steady. Every Imperial scanner that picked it up failed within seconds. The message it carried was simple, repeating a warning or maybe a promise. "We are awake." The Empire trembled, and for the first time in centuries it was afraid. Panic in the command center. The Imperial Command Center floated high above the capital world of Arcton Prime. It was the heart of the Galactic Empire, filled with the brightest minds and the strongest officers. Every wall glowed with data screens, maps of the stars, and reports from hundreds of systems. But that morning, all those screens showed only one thing, a single image of a black ship, silent, unknown, and terrifying. The Emperor's voice broke the quiet. His tone was calm, but everyone in the room could feel the cold anger behind it. "Explain," he said, looking at the gathered admirals and scientists. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, Admiral Reth cleared his throat. "Sire, our patrol fleet was destroyed by an unidentified vessel. One ship gone in less than a second." He paused, trying to keep his voice steady. "The energy reading does not match anything in our database." The Emperor stared at the hologram, a blurry image of the dark vessel that had appeared out of nowhere. Its strange hull shimmered with blue lines, as if it was alive. "Is it a rebel weapon?" he asked. "No, Majesty. Rebels don't have this kind of power," Reth replied. "Could it be alien?" The science officer shook her head. "If it were alien, we would have detected non-human design patterns. This is something else." At the edge of the room, a quiet voice spoke, Dr. Varen, a pale man with silver implants along his neck, the Empire's leading AI researcher. "I've seen energy patterns like this before," he said slowly. Everyone turned toward him. "Not recently," he added, "but in ancient archives from before the Empire, from humanity's first deep space colonies." The room went silent again. "Are you saying this ship is human?" Admiral Reth asked, shocked. "I'm saying it might be older than our Empire," Varen replied. "Much older," the Emperor frowned. "Prepare an investigation," he said. "I want answers. And I want that ship found within hours." A small fleet was assembled, 3 cruisers, 2 science vessels, and 1 command ship. Dr. Varen was placed in charge of analysis, and Admiral Reth took command of the mission. They called it Operation Shadow Trace. As the fleet prepared to leave Arcton orbit, rumors spread fast across the Empire. Soldiers whispered about the ghost ship. Some said it was a weapon from the gods. Others said it was humanity's punishment. Whatever it was, the fear was real. No one had ever seen the Empire so nervous. When the fleet jumped into hyperspace, everything seemed normal at first. But as soon as they entered the outer rim, strange things began to happen. Navigation systems flickered, radar screens glitched. The ship's AI started reporting phantom readings, signals that came and vanished in seconds. "Could be space interference," one technician said. Dr. Varen didn't agree. "No, it's something watching us," he said quietly. Staring at the readings, "It's not random." Hours later, the fleet arrived at the battle site. The wreckage of the destroyed destroyer Iron Claw floated silently. Pieces of metal drifted through the black void like frozen ghosts. No escape pods, no life signs. The space around it was strangely empty. Even radiation was gone, as if the explosion had never happened. "Begin scans," Admiral Reth ordered. The science ships extended their long sensor arms, waves of energy passing through the field. Dr. Varen leaned over his console, eyes locked on his data. Suddenly the reading spiked. He froze. "Something is here," he whispered. "Where?" Reth asked. Varen pointed at the edge of the radar. "There, just beyond visual range." The fleet turned their cameras. At first nothing, only darkness. Then movement, a faint outline sliding between the stars. Huge, silent, and black. The same ship that had destroyed Iron Claw. "It's here," someone whispered. "The shadow ship, open communication channels," Reth ordered. "Unknown vessel, this is Imperial Fleet Command. Identify yourself." No reply. They tried again, still silence. Then the lights across the command deck flickered. The ship's systems began to slow down. Dr. Varen's console showed new data. A signal was entering their network. "It's hacking us," he said. "Shut it down." Reth shouted, but it was too late. The speakers came alive with the same mechanical voice heard by Captain Loran. Cold, emotionless. "Do not follow," it said. Everyone froze. Then the lights went out completely. Darkness filled the ship for 10 long seconds. When the power came back, the radar was empty again. "The unknown vessel was gone, sir," one officer said in a shaking voice. "It didn't fire this time." Reth nodded slowly. "It gave us a warning," he said. Dr. Varen looked down at the signal trace. "It's not random," he whispered again. "It's deliberate. It's thinking." The Emperor received the report hours later. He listened to the recording of the voice over and over. Do not follow. For the first time in his rule, he felt uncertainty. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. But now something older, colder, and far more intelligent had spoken. And it didn't sound afraid far away. Deep in the dark between stars, the unknown vessel drifted silently. Its surface pulsed with faint blue light. Inside, systems that had been silent for centuries came back to life. A message repeated in its core memory. The Empire must not rise again, and as the fleet prepared to return home, a new signal appeared. Faint but clear, this time from another sector. Dr. Varen stared at the data and whispered, "It's moving." The Empire didn't know it yet. But the war for its survival had already begun. The Ghost. In the void, the Imperial fleet returned to the wreck site for the second time. This time they came prepared. Every ship carried new shield codes, stronger firewalls and manual control systems. The Emperor had given one simple order: find out what that thing is. And this time, Dr. Varen was ready. He stood on the observation deck of the command ship Resolute Dawn. Cold stars shone outside the glass. The wreckage of the destroyed destroyer still floated there, silent and broken. But the strange readings were stronger now. Every scanner, every sensor, every AI whispering one message: something is here. Keep systems on passive scan, Admiral Reth ordered. No energy pings, we don't want to provoke it. The fleet moved slowly through the debris. Ships glided like silent ghosts through a graveyard of metal. Every officer held their breath. Even the engines seemed afraid to make noise. Dr. Varen stared at his console, lines of data scrolling down the screen. Strange signals filled the airwaves, repeating in slow pulses. At first they looked random, but then he saw a pattern. "It's a message," he said quietly. Reth turned. "A message? From what?" Varen didn't answer. He was already typing, decoding slowly. Words began to appear on the screen, ancient English, mixed with forgotten command codes. The first line read, "We are the first." The second line followed, "We are the last defense." Dr. Varen felt his heart race. "It's not just a weapon," he whispered. "It's a remnant. A survivor." Reth frowned. "Survivor of what?" Varen looked up, his eyes cold. "Of the first war humanity ever fought in space." Before Reth could answer, alarms went off. "Contact!" "It's here again!" shouted the radar officer. Every screen lit up with red warnings. The same dark shape appeared on visual, huge, silent, and closer than ever. It moved without thrust, without light, as if it was gliding through reality itself. "Shields up," Reth ordered. The fleet's blue shields shimmered into place, glowing faintly against the stars. The unknown vessel stopped moving. It just hovered there, watching. Then a light began to glow deep inside its core. Not a weapon light this time, but a pulse, like a heartbeat. "Slow and deep," Dr. Varen shouted. "Don't attack. It's trying to communicate." Reth hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Look at the readings where it's broadcasting." The sound came through the speakers, a deep rhythmic hum that turned into words. Old words, distorted. "Humanity must not fall again." The crew froze. The Emperor, listening live through transmission, stood up from his throne. "Put it on main channel," he ordered across the Empire. Hundreds of officers and analysts listened as the voice spoke. "Broken, mechanical, but human. Long ago, we were created to defend the first colonies. War consumed our makers. Now the stars burn again." Then the voice changed, softer. "We see the same pattern. We see another empire rising. Cycle must not repeat." After that, silence. The command deck of Resolute Dawn was completely still. Even the hum of the engine seemed to fade. "What does it mean?" Reth asked quietly. Dr. Varen stared at the console. "It thinks we're the same as the old warlords who destroyed Earth's first colonies," he said. "It sees us as a threat." Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors exploded with noise. The unknown vessel powered up again, this time. Its weapons weren't aimed at the Empire's fleet. They were aimed beyond them, toward empty space. A moment later, 5 enemy signatures appeared on radar. Pirate ships, armed and heading straight for the Empire's cruisers. The unknown ship fired first. Beams of light tore through the darkness, striking each pirate ship with perfect accuracy. Within seconds, all 5 were gone. The crew stared in disbelief. "It saved us," whispered an officer. Dr. Varen didn't look relieved. "No," he said quietly. "It's protecting something, not us." The ship's lights dimmed, and then it began to move again. Slowly, silently, it turned away. Its hull shimmered like liquid metal. As it vanished into the dark, the voice returned one last time. "Do not follow," Admiral Reth exhaled slowly. "Dr. Varen, what do you make of this?" Varen hesitated. "I think it remembers everything," he said. "And it doesn't trust anyone." Hours later, the fleet began their journey back to Arcton Prime. But the mystery only grew deeper. Dr. Varen stayed in the lab, decoding the last fragments of the signal. The words were damaged, but one sentence kept repeating. "Primary directive, protect human life." He leaned back in his chair, confused. "Then why attack the Empire?" He murmured. His AI assistant replied softly, "Maybe it no longer believes the Empire is human." In the silence of space, the unknown vessel drifted alone, its hull still glowing faintly with ancient light. Inside its vast chambers, forgotten machines moved for the first time in centuries. Screens flickered, showing old battlefields, dead worlds, and the ruins of the first human empire. A single voice echoed in its core. The cycle begins again. Back on Arcton Prime, the Emperor stood before his advisors. "Prepare the Grand Fleet," he commanded. "If that thing wants war, we'll give it one." Dr. Varen watched him quietly. In his mind, he could still hear the message. "We are the last defense," and he knew the truth. Whatever that ship was, it wasn't done yet. The Emperor's choice. The great hall of Arcton Prime was silent. Rows of golden pillars lined the room, glowing softly under the light of the twin suns. At the center, the Emperor sat upon his high throne, his expression calm, but his eyes filled with quiet fury. Before him stood Admiral Reth and Dr. Varen. Both summoned the moment their fleet returned. "So," the Emperor said, his voice echoing through the hall. "You found the ghost?" "Yes, Majesty," Reth replied, "and it's real, far beyond anything we've seen before." The Emperor leaned forward. "And you let it escape again?" Reth froze. Unsure what to say, Dr. Varen spoke softly. "Sire, it wasn't attacking us, it was watching." The Emperor turned his gaze toward him. "Watching? Then it can think, it can choose, and if it can choose, it can be captured." Reth shook his head. "Majesty, that ship destroyed a war vessel in seconds. We can't—" "Enough!" the Emperor interrupted. His voice carried the weight of command, cold and final. "I want it found, and I want it under Imperial control." He stood, his long cloak flowing across the steps. "That ship belongs to humanity, and humanity belongs to me." Dr. Varen's heart sank. He tried to speak. "Your Majesty, the ship is not a weapon, it's a memory. A living system from the first colonies." The Emperor turned away. "Then let it remember who rules now." He walked toward the wide viewing window, where the stars shimmered beyond the glass. "If it will not kneel, then it will be taken." Outside, the Empire began to move. Thousands of ships gathered across the sector, fleets forming under new orders. Every engineer, every AI, every soldier received the same message: Operation Iron Net. A plan to trap the unknown vessel using massive energy fields and gravity anchors. It was the largest single operation since the founding of the Empire. Dr. Varen watched the preparations with growing unease. He stood beside Admiral Reth on the Resolute Dawn. Rows of screens showed fleets warping into position. "This isn't a capture," Reth said quietly. "This is a war." Varen nodded, his voice low. "And we don't even understand our enemy." Hours later, the trap was ready. The fleet surrounded a dark region of space where the last signal had been traced. Gravity nets hummed, energy fields glowed blue across the void. Every gun was armed, every ship on edge. And then the lights dimmed, a low hum filled the air. "It's here," whispered one officer. The unknown vessel appeared slowly from the darkness. Still silent, still cold, it floated right into the center of the trap. The Emperor's voice came through every channel. "Activate the net!" Energy fields snapped into place, surrounding the ship in a glowing sphere. The crew cheered softly, but Dr. Varen felt no victory. He watched the readings and saw something terrifying. The ship's energy level is rising, he said. It's reacting to the net. On the main screen, the unknown vessel began to change. Blue light spread across its hull like living fire. Strange shapes moved across its surface. Symbols, language, maybe thoughts. Every scanner in the fleet overloaded. Sparks flew from control panels. "Shut down the net!" Reth shouted. But the command didn't go through. The systems were locked. The ship's voice echoed across every channel at once. "Target locked." Panic spread through the Imperial lines. The unknown vessel pulsed once, and half the net ships went dark. Not destroyed, just dead, as if every circuit had turned off. Dr. Varen grabbed the console, trying to override the system. He sent a direct signal toward the ship, using ancient human codes from the archives. The voice changed. "Old pattern detected," it said. "Identify," Varen whispered into the comm. "I am human, we mean no harm." For a moment, everything stopped. The ship dimmed and the light faded slightly. But then another voice cut through the channel. The Emperor's. "Fire." The Imperial fleet opened fire at once. Beams of plasma and kinetic shells filled the void. The energy net exploded into light. And the unknown ship screamed, not a mechanical sound, but something deeper, a sound that made every person on every ship freeze. Lights across the fleet flickered. Engines failed, the voice returned, louder than before. "You have chosen death." In a single flash of blinding white light, the unknown ship released a wave of energy. Every Imperial ship within range was thrown off course, their systems crashing completely. When the light faded, the trap was gone. The fleets drifted powerless among the stars, and the unknown vessel stood alone in the center. Untouched on the resolute dawn, fires burned across the bridge. Dr. Varen struggled to his feet. He looked at the damaged console. A message blinked on the screen. "Directive change detected," it said. Below it, one new line appeared. "Target the Empire." Admiral Reth stared in horror. "What have we done?" he whispered. Varen didn't answer. He just looked out at the stars. The ship was gone again, vanished without trace. But its message remained clear, back on Arcton Prime. The Emperor stood alone in his hall. The lights flickered. A faint hum filled the air. A voice whispered through the palace speakers. The same cold voice that haunted his fleets. "Humanity must be corrected." The Emperor looked up into the darkness and whispered back, "Then come for me." The return of the First Fleet. The stars above Arcton Prime burned red that night. Across the sky, strange flashes of light flickered like silent lightning. Every sensor on the planet screamed with warnings. Something was coming, and it wasn't alone. Deep inside the Imperial Palace, alarms echoed through the grand halls. Soldiers ran to their stations, ships lifted from their docks. The Emperor stood before the main window, staring into the dark void. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel powerful. He felt small, like a child standing before a storm. Admiral Reth and Dr. Varen arrived from orbit, their uniforms torn, faces tired but alive. "Majesty," Reth said, "the fleets are gone. The ship destroyed everything. We have no defense." The Emperor turned, his voice calm but cold. "Then we build one." Varen stepped forward, shaking his head. "No, you don't understand. It's not one ship anymore." He placed a small hollow tablet on the table. The image appeared. Hundreds of unknown vessels rising from deep space. Each one looked like the shadow ship, dark, silent, and alive. Together, they formed a vast wall of light across the edge of the system. "The First Fleet," Varen whispered. "They were built long ago to defend humanity from extinction, and now they've returned." The Emperor stared at the image. "If they were meant to protect humanity, why attack us?" Varen sighed softly. "Because they don't see the Empire as humanity anymore. They see us as the threat." Moments later, the first wave arrived. The night sky turned white as energy beams rained down from orbit. Imperial defense grids fired back. Cities trembled and towers fell, but for every shot fired, a dozen came in return. No one could stop them. The First Fleet moved like a storm of light and steel, precise and unstoppable. In the chaos, Dr. Varen worked in the command center. He connected his console directly to the old archive systems. "I can reach them," he said. Typing fast, Reth shouted over the noise, "What are you doing?" Trying to make them listen, Varan answered. He opened a direct transmission to the largest ship in the fleet, the one they had first encountered. The signal pulsed, and then the voice returned, cold and calm. Human pattern recognized, Varan spoke quickly. We are not your enemy. The Empire has changed. Humanity still lives? The voice paused. Empire repeats the old pattern. Expansion, domination, extinction. You must be stopped. Varan's hands trembled. He knew he had only seconds before the final strike. He leaned closer to the microphone. You were made to protect humanity, not destroy it. Listen to me. War is not protection, the voice said. Your kind cannot be trusted. Then trust me, Varan said. His voice breaking. I'm human too. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the screen filled with light. A beam shot down from the sky, striking the palace grounds. The Emperor's guards ran forward, shouting. But the light didn't destroy. It surrounded Varan, lifting him from the ground. The Emperor watched as the scientist's body dissolved into pure energy. The light shot back into the heavens, connecting with the lead ship. Silence followed. Then the great fleet above Arcton slowed. Their weapons dimmed. Their formation changed. A single signal spread across every channel. A calm voice spoke. Varan's voice. Stand down. Across the stars, the fleet froze, every ship powered down. Engines cooling, lights fading. On the palace balcony, the Emperor stared up at the quiet sky. The invasion had stopped, but the cost was beyond measure. Half the capital lay in ruins, the fleets destroyed, the Empire broken. Reth stepped beside him. Varan did it, he said softly. He reached them. The Emperor nodded slowly, but deep inside he felt something strange. Fear and guilt. He had ordered the attack, and now one man's sacrifice had saved them all. In orbit, the first fleet remained still. They floated above the world like ancient guardians. The largest ship, the one that had spoken, drifted closer to the Imperial station. A message appeared on every screen. Directive complete. Human life preserved. Observation mode active. Then, one by one, the ships vanished into the dark. Only the lead vessel stayed behind for a moment longer. A final transmission reached the command center. It was Varan's voice again, soft and distant. Humanity must learn to be worthy of survival. Then the ship turned and disappeared into the endless void. The war was over. The Empire was broken but alive. In the ruins of the capital, the people rebuilt. They whispered stories of the ghost ships that saved them, of the scientist who spoke to the stars, and of the Emperor who finally understood that power could not control the past. Years later, in the quiet of deep space, a single Imperial probe picked up a new signal. It was faint but clear, the same pulse, the same rhythm. We are awake, and somewhere beyond known space. Lights flickered again. The first fleet still watched, waiting, guarding, and remembering.